Good evening and welcome to NewsCenter at 5:30. I'm Mandy Vandegrift.
And I'm Justin Brown. A fire that destroyed the home of some Ball State students Saturday remains under investigation tonight. The 4 tenants report that the fire began in the room of a 5th tenant who has not been heard from since the fire. Police say the 5th tenant was not a Ball State student. One of the tenants reported finding an empty bottle of an antipsychotic medication in the room of the missing roommate. Owner of the destroyed building, Michael Mullins, says the missing tenant paid his rent and has not created a concern up until now.
Ball Memorial Hospital Blood Bank and the Hoosier Heartland chapter of the Red Cross say the usual amount of donors doubled on September 11th, leaving the blood supply sufficient even 3 weeks after the attacks. However, blood has only a shelf life of 42 days, so the Ball Blood Bank is urging people to make an appointment for either October or November. They also said even those unable to give blood have been donating their time and in some cases refreshments.
The American Water Works Association has urged the nation's tap water suppliers to improve security measures. Director of Communications for Indiana American Water Company, Joe Lowmiller, says his company has increased security. The company, which serves Muncie and Winchester, is taking measures to prevent terrorists from filtering chemicals into the water supply. The National Institute of Health says several pathogens and biotoxins are resistant to disinfection by chlorination and in turn can become weapons. Counterterrorism efforts involving the federal government and the drinking water industry have been underway since 1998.
Indiana license plates are now joining the crusade against breast cancer. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and a new specialty license plate has made its debut earlier today at the State House. The plate will be at your license branch this January and will cost an additional $37. 25 of those dollars will go to the Indiana Breast Cancer Awareness Trust. Ball State's Women's Center believes breast exams are essential for every woman.
1 out of every 8 women will develop breast cancer. And that is scary if you think of it in terms of people that you know. 8 women that you know may die from breast cancer in your lifetime. And because of that, it's something that all women need to be aware of.
If you have paid your semester health fee, the Women's Center, located in Ball State's Health Center, will do a breast exam at no cost to you.
An emotional and shocking first-hand visit to Lower Manhattan was felt by some Ball State students. A group of student government officials and representatives from fraternities and sororities arrived in New York yesterday to tour the vast devastation caused by terrorists. Today, the group volunteered at various fire stations, and tonight they are attending the Late Show with David Letterman. Area Muncie businesses sponsored the students in order to convey their condolences.
Senator Edward Kennedy visited a fighter wing unit at Otis Air National Guard Base on Cape Cod today. The unit has been given a key role in Homeland Security plans following the September 11th attacks. Bill Shields has more on the senator's visit.
Now, which units are you all with here now?
102nd.
Good. Very good.
As the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Ted Kennedy knows full well the importance of the reserves and National Guard. Here at Otis Air Force Base, many reservists and guardsmen have been called to active duty. And Senator Kennedy wanted basically to say thank you.
Now I think all of us are so deeply proud of what the men and women of the 102nd are doing, and all of those who have been called up are doing.
It was the 102nd Fighter Wing from Otis Air Force Base that responded on September 11th, flying to New York to secure the airspace from further attacks. And Kennedy's presence here today was warmly received by those citizen soldiers who have left their jobs and families to serve their country.
By having the senator come down here on a day like today, it really puts us in a perspective that, hey, we are doing something for the country.
Yes, it makes me feel that we're getting the support that we need, and makes me feel comfortable that he did come and assured me.
And now we're going to take a look at weather. It's been cold this past week, but then it got warmer. Are we going to fall back into that trend that we had last week?
I'm afraid so. We are, it's going to be really chilly probably this weekend, but then it'll get warmer again this weekend.
Oh, good news.
All right. Well, you'll have more coming up, Rachel?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And a New York-based financier has left part of his fortune to another university in Indiana. Fred Van Eck died last year, leaving $21 million worth of timberland in California and Oregon to Purdue University. Van Eck never set foot on the West Lafayette campus, but he was impressed with Purdue's use of biotechnology to improve hardwood trees on the West Lafayette campus.
The refinancing of bonds for the Horizon Convention Center expansion is the top issue for the Muncie City Council meeting tonight. Mayor Dan Cannon proposed the refinancing deal. It would drop yearly $1.1 million bond payments to $850,000 through 2017. Council members say the city could not afford to give up the great savings. Council Vice President Sam Marshall said he hoped that the money saved by refinancing would finish infrastructure work and help encourage other development downtown.
Formula One drivers are set to take off on a plan to help victims of the September 11th terrorist attacks. They are donating race helmets and uniforms to help raise money for the victims' children. Indianapolis Motor Speedway President Tony George says 15 of the series' 22 drivers have already made donations. The Speedway will collect and sell the items. Mika Hakkinen donated his uniform after winning the U.S. Grand Prix in Indianapolis yesterday.
Gary has been trying to enforce tougher laws for sexually oriented businesses. Now the city is taking blame for giving mixed messages. An old bank building is being turned into an adult bookstore using a building permit secured by the city's director of recycling. Charlie Donaldson is the city's director of recycling, and even though he is also a contractor on the bookstore job, Donaldson says he would never acquire the building permit if he had known it was for an adult business.
Well, coming up after this break, New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani speaks to the United Nations.
That's right, and people everywhere are running out to purchase gas masks. But is this precaution necessary? We'll tell you when NewsCenter 530 continues.
In East Central Indiana, there is only one place to turn for local news.
About 2 million Serbian residents.
While state has gained national attention.
NewsCenter 43.
America's
and Rule 7. We're okay on time now, guys.
Clouds begin to form.
Muncie's only live TV newscast.
Reporting live.
Only live.
On Saturday as we go to the
An
highlight.
official CNN Student Bureau. NewsCenter 43, Monday through Thursday at 5:30 and 9:30 on Burrs Channel 43.
New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani delivered an impassioned speech before the United Nations General Assembly today. In the speech, he offered his condolences to the member nations who lost citizens in the September 11th attacks. The mayor said the UN must take direct action against terrorism. Today would be the UN's first global forum on terrorism. Following the terrorist attacks, many Americans have been rushing out to buy gas masks. But would they work in the event of a biological or chemical attack? Medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen has more on the pros and cons of gas mask protection.
This is a U.S. M17A2.
At this Army-Navy surplus store in Georgia, they have American masks, Swedish masks, German masks, and once they arrive at the store, they're usually sold within the hour. Since September, 200 to 300 people have called every day, desperate for any kind of mask.
Even my mother called. You did save one for me, right? No,
Russell Smith, the manager here, says he did save one for his mom and one for himself, even though he has his doubts about whether they'd be helpful in case of a chemical or biological attack.
You feel a mask suck against your face.
First of all, it can be hard to get it to fit right, and a mask that doesn't fit right won't work properly. Second, you never know when an attack is going to happen. Terrorists don't send warnings.
Yes, it would protect you, but you'd have to be wearing it. I mean, you can't just go to work wearing a gas mask. It's not realistic.
And third, different chemical and biological weapons require different filters. A mask with the wrong filter won't help. Plus, trying to put on a mask in a crisis can be dangerous.
There certainly is a downside to the wearing of these masks. In Israel, during the Desert Storm War, 8 people died because they wore their masks incorrectly.
They suffocated, which makes Dr. Henry Siegelson, who helps train the government prepare for weapons of mass destruction, think there's got to be a better alternative. He says if you're worried about biological or chemical attacks, consider sealing off a room in your house like they do in Israel.
They could go into this room, seal the doors and the windows, and wait until the gas cloud moves by.
Dr. Siegelson says a sealed room won't kill you, but a gas mask could. Elizabeth Cohen, CNN, Stockbridge, Georgia.
The threat of war in Afghanistan has its people fleeing for neighboring Pakistan and Iran. The UN is making preparations to aid millions of Afghan refugees, and President Bush has already authorized the release of $100 million in humanitarian aid. Tom Mintier has an update from Pakistan.
The word from Washington that $100 million will be provided for the relief effort will come as good news for the UN. They're looking for more than $580 million in donations to deal with the possible influx of millions of Afghan refugees into Pakistan and Iran. Over the past week, only about 15,000 have crossed the border, but there are already 2 million inside the country. If hostilities break out inside Afghanistan, there is a possibility of 1 million to 1.5 million crossing into both countries. They expect 1 million to come into Pakistan, and over the past few days, they have gone to at least 100 locations looking for a place to site these camps. Also, no new word from the Taliban about Osama bin Laden. Just about 24 hours ago, they did admit that they knew where he was and admitted that he was under their control. This ran counter to what the Taliban had been saying in recent days, that they simply did not know where he is. The United States responded to the Taliban announcement very quickly, saying, please hand him over. Anything the Taliban says, we are likely not to believe. I'm Tom Mintier, CNN in Islamabad, Pakistan.
Former Philippine President Joseph Estrada appeared in court Monday to face criminal charges.
Estrada is accused of economic plunder, which carries a possible death sentence. Maria Ressa has more.
It was a game of chicken, and the former president lost. After making the court wait for about an hour, former Philippine President Joseph Estrada came in slippers because he said he was forced to attend by the police.
They're being forced to do what is against the rule of court. This is somewhat judicial terrorism.
It's the first time a former head of state is facing criminal charges. Economic plunder is a new law Mr. Estrada helped pass when he was a senator. It carries the maximum penalty of death or lifetime imprisonment. Earlier Monday, the judge ruled against any further delays after Mr. Estrada and his lawyers said they would boycott the first day in court.
The case is set for trial, and they don't want to appear, so that trial will not continue. That's the only reason. And why? Because they want to delay the proceedings in this case.
Corruption charges against the former movie star nearly a year ago sparked the country's first impeachment trial. When Filipinos lost faith in the process, they took to the streets, replacing Mr. Estrada with his vice president on January 20th. Now Filipinos say it's time for justice to determine Mr. Estrada's innocence or guilt in a court of law. Maria Ressa, CNN.
Shauna Walters joins us now for a look at what's coming up in weather.
Well, it's going to be a little chilly this week, but it should warm up this weekend. Okay. So we can look forward to that.
All right. Good news.
Hi, and today we have our weather almanac. We have today's high at about 74 degrees. The normal high is only 71 degrees. Today's low is about 44 degrees, when our normal low is only 49. Sunrise we have at 6:35 a.m. and sunset will be at 6:28 p.m. And a look at our highs today. Up in the north at South Bend, we have a high of 56 degrees. Fort Wayne, we have 72 degrees. Muncie, we have a high of 74 degrees. Indianapolis and Lafayette are at the same at 73 degrees for the high. In Terre Haute, we have at 74 degrees. And a look at our current conditions. We are partly cloudy, temperature of 46 degrees. The winds are northwest 7 miles per hour. We have humidity at 89%. And a look at our national satellite. As you can see, there is gusts of wind coming in from the east and the south, actually, pushing in from the north on the west side. The U.S. is looking pretty clear in the central area, but around the coast it's pretty windy. And a look at our national radar, we are very clear. Up in the north of the west part of the U.S., we have a little precipitation. Over on the east coast at the north is where we have the most of our precipitation at. Up in Indiana, we're pretty clear, so we don't have to worry about that. And a look at our regional radar, it's a little rainy up down at the south side of Indiana, but around Muncie, we are pretty clear, and at Indianapolis, we're clear. Tonight, we're sunny around the Indiana area, and we have a cold front sweeping from the north down to the south, so it's going to be pretty cold. We have a low in the east part, and in the west, we have a heat wave coming in towards the east. Tonight's lows, as you look at it, we have 30s in the north, 40s down in the central, 50s and 60s in the south. Tonight, we have partly cloudy, and it's going to be a low of 60 degrees, so you might want to take a jacket. We have west winds at 5 miles per hour. And tomorrow morning, it's going to be mostly sunny with a temperature of 46 degrees. Winds are going to be north winds at 7 miles per hour. Tomorrow, it's going to be mostly sunny, so we can look forward to that. High at about 70 degrees. South winds at 5 to 15 miles per hour. And a look at our 3-day outlook. On Wednesday, we have a high of 70 degrees, low at 50 degrees. Thursday, it's going to be a high of 67 degrees with a low of 50. And Friday, we'll have a high of 60 degrees with a low of 45. It's going to be sunny.
I was going to say, last week it was pretty cold, but this week it's nice to
Yes,
see
it's
all
going to
the
be
sun.
warm, so I'm excited about that, most definitely.
Going into fall break, it'll be nice also.
Yes, that's true.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem.
Well, it was chilly this weekend, but did that keep the players off the field?
No, it did not. Ball State had a game this weekend against Miami of Ohio. We will have all the highlights, so stick around. Sports is next. The Ball State football Cardinals took the field this Saturday against a team that they broke their dubious 21-game losing streak against last year. Things started off like Ball State might just beat the Redhawks again, but to the highlights we go as the Cardinals came out looking like a different team this week. After some defense and an interception, Talmadge Hill finds Jamar Cote for the 6-yard TD strike. Then just minutes later, BSU strikes again as Hill throws the nice fade pattern to Sean Shembra in the corner. 14-0 Cards. Then the wheels began to fall off for Ball State. Now at the end of the first quarter, Cal Murray, it's a 7-yard touchdown run to put Miami trail 14-7 just before the half. Just before the half, the Redhawks converted a crucial 4th and 16. Then Ben Roethlisberger finds Jason Branch for the touchdown. We are tied 14 at the half. Ball State would strike first in the second half. After a missed field goal, Merriweather scores on a 3-yard touchdown run. The 2-point conversion was no good. Later, Ball State trails 21-20 when Cal Murray breaks open this 32-yard run to pay dirt. Miami goes on to win 28-20. I was at the game Saturday and have a closer look at why the Cards are 0-4. The Ball State Cardinal football team came flying out of the gate Saturday, taking a 14-0 lead against the Miami Redhawks. But the Redhawks defense proved to be too much for the Cardinals through 4 quarters. The Cardinals seemed to surprise the Redhawks early on Saturday, as aggressive defense and 2 quick touchdown strikes put the Cards up early. But then the Ball State offense began to fizzle as the Miami pass defense stepped up, allowing Talmadge Hill to just 108 yards passing.
They definitely started to bring the Mike and the Sam backwards through the middle, which was a blitz that we really hadn't seen too much of, so they did a good job adjusting.
The Miami offense got rid of their early game jitters as well, as backup running back Cal Murray rushed for 183 yards and 3 touchdowns. One bright spot for the Cards, the return of Marcus Merriweather, who after the game said he was not 100%, but still rushed for 182 yards. Cardinals are now 0-4, and after a week off, will look for their first win when they travel to Eastern Michigan. The Ball State women's volleyball team improved its record to 9-4 and 5-0 in the MAC conference, and with 2 more big wins at home, bringing their home winning streak to 36. Ball State beat Akron on Friday night, and 3-0 and beat Marshall 3-1. Senior Megan Hammonds blasted 34 kills this weekend, and needs 151 kills to tie the MAC record. Head coach Randy Litchfield says that the team has received some early gifts this year.
We got a big Christmas present early last weekend when Western Michigan and Northern Illinois each lost 2 matches, and they're our big problems in the MAC, to be quite honest with you. So we've jumped up early and have every advantage in the world. We'll see how we play now as front runners.
The Cardinals' next game is October 5th here against Central Michigan. And all good things must come to an end for the Ball State women's soccer team. The Cardinals dropped a heartbreaker in double overtime over the weekend to Kent State and also to Buffalo. And today, though, they came back and played Taylor and are winning 4-0 in the second half. And you think you know everything about the NFL? Well, each week I'll be posting my picks to click for the following Sunday's games. Then you email your picks, and if you have more correct, your name will be mentioned on this segment next week. So here are my picks. I like the Saints to win their long-awaited home opener, the Bucs to win the Battle of the Bays, and the Patriots to ride their wave of momentum into next week. And the Ravens will win a defensive battle against the Titans, and the lights will go out on the Titans as the Ravens win that game. Email your picks to us at wcrh.bsu.edu.
And we are having some technical difficulties.
Just a little.
I think it was you that
I
did
think
that.
it is my fault, yeah.
It was your new segment.
There they go.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
I guess not. But anyway, email your picks to wcrh.bsu.edu and pick the games that you wish to see.
All right, thank you,
Well,
Justin.
coming up after the break, Shauna Walters will be in with a quick look at this week's forecast.
Stay with us. Shauna back in with weather now. It's going to look like a nice start to fall break.
Nice start to fall break, definitely. As we go into the weekend, we'll be a little bit cooler, but then a warm up.
All right.
As we look at tomorrow, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high of 70 and the winds at southwest 5 to 15 miles per hour. So it's going to be pretty nice. And to look at our 3-day outlook, it's going to be a high at 70 on Wednesday, a low of 50. Thursday is going to be a high of 67, a low of 50, and on Friday it'll be a high of 60 degrees and a low of 45. So it's going to be kind of cooler.
Fall light temperatures. That's
Slowly
great.
declines.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for NewsCenter at 5:30. I'm Justin Brown.
And I'm Mandy Vandergrift. NewsCenter 43 is an official CNN student bureau. Be sure to tune in tonight for NewsCenter at 9:30.